Just elongating your breath even just slightly more than your regular cadence. And begin to notice how your rib cage expands and contracts with each breath. Notice the air entering and exiting your nostrils. Notice your belly rise and fall with each inhale and exhale. And now bringing awareness to your face. Notice anywhere you can soften. Anywhere you're holding on to tension. Perhaps in your forehead, your eyes, or your jaw. It's without judgment, allowing it to release with your exhale. Just softening anywhere that's tight. Now moving down through your neck and shoulders. Really allowing your shoulders to drop, releasing anything you're holding on to here. And continuing to make whatever adjustments your body says will feel good. Now bringing your awareness down through your back and your chest. Your arms and your torso. Again, just softening anywhere that you could use a release. Visualizing your breath being sent to that place in your body. Down through your seat and your legs. And then finally all the way to your feet. Feeling this connection to the ground. And now bringing your awareness to each and every one of your toes. See how many of your toes you can notice. really grounding in this present moment. Being very aware of how your body is responding and communicating with you. Knowing that the body is your keeper of your soul. Always sending messages. And when we listen to those messages at a whisper, our body doesn't have to scream. Always listening to those whispers and making adjustments throughout this practice and throughout life. Continuing with this elongated breath on your next inhale, you're invited to bring your hands to your heart space. Bringing your awareness to the beat of your heart. Noticing its cadence, its pace. Perhaps you can even feel the connection between the palm of your hand and the beating of your heart. This beautiful heart that beats just for you. Now sending our breath directly to our heart. Having a moment of gratitude for this keeper of your values, for this keeper of love, for this keeper of the beat of your day, knowing your heart is here to serve you and you to serve your heart. And knowing that your heart only beats right now, not in the past and not in the future, just like our breath. We can only breathe in the present, and our heart only beats in the present. Which means that both our breath and our hearts are beautiful tools to anchor ourselves back into this moment, right here, right now. Knowing that as many times as your mind wanders throughout this guided meditation, you always have the choice to come back to your breath, come back to your heartbeat as many times as you need. So, with self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-care. No judgment needed. This is a part of your human experience. Always giving yourself that permission. Knowing you can make a new choice again and again and again. And that is the journey to alignment. In a moment, I will recite each line from the Permission to Be Human pledge. And you are invited to say it aloud or in your mind after each line. And the invitation again is to simply be aware of what comes up for you. What do you notice in your mind, in your body? How might you ignite self-compassion with whatever you're noticing? And where might there be bigger opportunities for self-care within and beyond the practice today? That is your invitation. Let's begin. Let's take a deep breath in and out. I promise to honor what makes me perfectly imperfect. I promise to meet myself where I am, not where I want to be. I promise to suspend judgment and ignite compassion. I promise to set healthy boundaries to protect my energy. I promise to prioritize my well-being by embodying my values. And in doing so, I promise to give myself and others permission to be human. Another deep breath in and out. And today we'll go deeper into the promise to suspend judgment and ignite compassion. Where in your life, what comes up? What does it look like when you judge yourself in this way? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Allowing yourself to observe the experience versus getting caught up in the experience. What do you notice in your body as you become aware of this judgment? And in that awareness, what would self-compassion sound like? What would self-compassion look like and feel like if you were to respond to these judgments from a place of kindness, treating yourself as your own best friend? What's the truth about the ways you are being overly judgmental and have a big opportunity to choose compassion towards yourself? Now say those words. See that response and feel the love you can produce in your heart that extends to every cell of your body when you have the self-awareness to know when you're being unkind, and when you have the tools to make a new choice, to change the story you're telling yourself about what's true and what isn't. Allow those feelings of self-compassion to wash over you into a new possibility of what it means to give yourself permission to be human. Taking long, deep breaths now into this choice of self-compassion. Breathing in this possibility and breathing out the judgments. Breathe in self-compassion. Breathe out self-judgment. Breathe in self-compassion. Breathe out self-judgment. And on your next exhale, you can slightly bend your head towards your heart, having a bow of gratitude for choosing to show up today, for choosing to show up in your life, for choosing to be a vessel of love and light and possibility, to embody what's possible when you give yourself permission to be human. Knowing that this is not only a gift for you, but a gift for every single person who comes across your path, and more than you'll ever realize. What a gift. What a gift to be incredibly grateful for. And at the sound of the chime, I invite you to take a long, deep inhale in. Once again, breathing in that self-compassion, holding your breath for as long as you can at the top, and then finally a deep exhale out of any lingering judgments that you can feel moving their way out of your body. And whenever you feel ready, you can slowly bring yourself back. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe you even want to give your neck another roll, your wrists, your ankles. Lauren, I'm so glad to hear this was beautiful for you. And for Maria, you're so welcome. I'd love to hear in a word or a short phrase, how are you feeling now? Were you able to notice where you can give yourself some more self-compassion and you can let go of judgments? Were you able to notice what came up in your body? There are so many gifts when we choose to be present. And when we choose to give ourselves permission to be human. I'll tell you, for this practice for me today, promising to suspend judgment and ignite compassion, a lot of that was towards myself and how do I show up? How do I show up in this world today? When I have these wonderful things happening in my personal life, and yet the world seems to be in crisis, right? Not even seems to, it is. And this, what we're witnessing happening now with Ukraine and Russia, and feeling oftentimes like I judge myself for what I do and I don't do, what's enough, what's not enough. Am I wrong for having happiness in my heart as well as sadness? Right? And I judge myself. I judge myself for that, for not knowing the answers. Pete and Chris, I'm so glad. Self-love and so powerful and so needed. So glad to hear that. I really appreciate that you're here. Yeah, it is, Maria. It's hard. Being a human is hard. Being a human is hard. And that's why this permission to be human work is so important to me in my personal life, in my professional life, in this community and beyond. Because it's hard. It's hard. So we need these reminders. We need to remember that we're not alone. We need to remember that we can have duality inside of us, right? We can have these high highs and these low lows with what seems to be in the exact same moment, right? Yeah, I'm seeing Chris saying, I struggle with duality of sadness, grief, and happiness. So happy to have this community and share these things. Yeah, Chris, it's so true. Like, wanting to do the right thing, but not knowing what the right thing is a big part of giving ourselves permission to be human. And so what my practice has been is just asking my heart, what's right for this moment? What's right for today, right? And recognizing that I can feel the sadness, I can feel the grief, I can feel those parts of what's true. And I don't have to judge myself or feel guilty for also having good things going on in my life. It doesn't make things better in the world for me to shut down the positive things that are happening, right? And so that duality of like, oh, what do I do with this? That was what came up for me today when I was doing this practice within myself. And for anybody who feels called to do more of that practice in this duality and putting intentional energy towards really channeling our high vibration frequencies towards peace in Ukraine, I invite you to join me at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 2 hours and 15 minutes from now. I'll be coming back on live and sharing about my personal connection to the people of Ukraine. Having been an exchange student there, and my host family and I are in contact, sharing some wisdom I've gained from my teachers during this time that has been so helpful and so grounding when I didn't have the words or understand how to do something about it, right? What do I do? How do I channel this? And being in community to go into a guided practice of sending love and prayers towards those in this world who are suffering, and particularly those in Ukraine. Yeah. Lauren, I'm so glad to know you're giving yourself permission to be human. Yeah, I think there's a mind-body disconnect. Lauren, and if you're feeling like there's anxiety that you need to move out, I actually encourage you to do physical movement in that. So whether that's dancing, whether that's just shaking, the physical act of shaking our bodies helps to release a lot of what we're holding onto in the disconnect of what's being stored up inside of us. So I encourage anybody who wants to take it to another level, do some physical movement also. Allow it to move through you, knowing that it will keep coming back. It will, right? Like, we always have the opportunity to allow it to be present, understand what the wisdom is, and then move through. Allow it to release and move through. And then when it comes back, whether it's the same or the next version or whatever it might be, we give ourselves the same permission and we go through the practice again. So I thank you for joining me today. I hope I'll see you in 2 hours and 15 minutes back here. This is the first time I'm doing 2 lives in a day, but this is what my heart told me to do. This is what made me feel like I could be a part of something powerful in this world. And I know we're all doing that, whether you join it too or not. I know we're all a part of that, because when we are taking care of ourselves, we are changing the frequency of this world to show that that's possible. And it emanates way beyond the sphere you could ever imagine. I was looking at a bunch of research this morning, which I'll share more of it at 2 o'clock, on the power of global prayer practices. So for anybody who enjoyed this practice today, I invite you to come back. We typically have these every Monday and Friday. Otherwise, this week it's going to be Monday and Thursday. So today and Thursday, simply because I have a commitment all day on Friday. And I wanted there to be 2 practices on this permission to be human. Next time we come back, we'll go deeper into the next line, which is about setting healthy boundaries to protect your energy. If you could use some support with setting boundaries, please join. This is like my big one, is finding freedom through boundaries. So please join. And if you want to go deeper, I have a ton of guided practices here on Insight Timer, in addition to a course called Knowing and Living Your Values. We have almost 5,200 students in there now. It's been beautiful to see how many of you are joining me over there. I am in the incubation phases right now of figuring out what my Permission to be Human course is going to be, which will be what comes out next. But you can also join in the group that we have called Permission to be Human, and share your experiences. I'm happy to provide support along the way, however I can. And this community is here to provide additional support too, and always remembering that you're not alone. So for today, for all of the donations that come through, I am going to be earmarking them for an orphanage that I have a connection to in Kiev, that's working with orphans who have aged out of the system and are alone in this time. So if anybody feels compelled to make a donation today, that is where they will be earmarked. And again, the same for this afternoon. I'll be making those donations again to just feel like taking some aligned action into what's possible. Clive, you're saying thank you, practicing and refraining from using the word selfish. Yes. It's amazing the negative associations to the word selfish, because being, according to the definition of selfish, which is putting yourself first, that's actually how we make the world work. When we start putting everybody else in front of us, we don't know how to take care of ourselves. We wind up living for everyone but ourselves. And therefore, we cannot come from a place of abundance and our cups overflowing in possibility, but rather from a place of scarcity and obligation. So this is your invitation to rework your relationship to the word selfish too. Because actually, I think selfless is way more damaging than being selfish. When we're selfless, it means we're not really paying attention to ourselves and our own needs, which are moments in time that matters, right? There are moments in time where that is really important. But generally speaking, if we're doing our whole life for somebody else or for other people, we're not actually here living out our purpose, which is to figure out who we are at our core and live in alignment with those values every day. Yeah. So I thank